Straight ahead on IU NewsNet, IU students stage a rally against ICE and deportation at the sample gates as Indiana's governor turns up the heat on local law enforcement. We'll take you there.
And if you like going out for breakfast, look out for rising prices. How the recent outbreak of bird flu could have you paying more for your eggs.
Plus, Bloomington Animal Care and Control is hosting a Shelter Sweethearts adoption special. How you could welcome a new furry friend this Valentine's Day for only $14. IU NewsNet starts now. Welcome to IU NewsNet. I'm Emma Herwehe.
And I'm Jack Bassett. Bloomington has long been considered a welcome place for immigrants.
But there's pressure from the federal and state government to change that. As ICE agents turn up the heat on immigrants, Bloomington residents and others across the country raised their voices in protest. Protesters marched through downtown Indianapolis this weekend, one of many demonstrations happening nationwide. That movement reached IU's campus last night, with students gathering peacefully at the sample gates. Despite the cold and the rain, protesters raised their voices and called for action from IU administrators. Many held signs and draped themselves in flags representing their countries of origin.
See by the amount of outrage going on to all these executive orders and all these actions by the university and the administration that we're not alone, that there are people who are willing to fight, that there are people who are willing to sacrifice, that there are people who are willing to do anything for others, not for themselves.
Castillo and other passionate participants addressed the crowd throughout the night. They focused primarily on executive orders regarding deportation, but also touched on other recent government actions, including those on abortion.
Immigration and deportation is also front and center for Indiana's new governor, Mike Braun. He has issued a number of executive orders in line with the new federal mandates, and the Republican-led State House is following suit with proposed bills. IU NewsNet's Olivia Wilson joins us with a legislative roundup. Olivia?
Deportation, banning masks, and changing the rules of voting. The Indiana State House has introduced a slew of new bills, many of which have a direct impact on college students and on Bloomington.
We start with House Bill number 1393, which affects Indiana's immigration policies. If an individual is arrested for a felony or misdemeanor and the police officer has reasons to believe they lack permanent legal status, they must be reported to the county sheriff. Then, sheriff must report the individual to ICE and hold them in jail until ICE makes the next move. Despite pushback from the Monroe County Sheriff, this bill passed through the House of Representatives this month and will soon go up in the Senate. House Bill 1644 would tighten voting in the state. Your student ID would no longer be enough proof of identity to cast your vote. The bill also modifies the resident requirements, making students list their permanent address when they register, not their college address. This means many students would have to travel back to their permanent address to cast their votes. Senate Bill 441 affects the identities of transgender and non-binary Hoosiers. It would reverse any gender change that has been made on birth certificates by court order. This bill is currently pending in the Senate. House Bill 1669 aims to regulate drag shows throughout the state and restrict the government from funding these performances. It is expected to take effect on July 1st of this year, which could impact the drag shows often performed in and around Bloomington.
And remember these? Senate Bill 286 rules that if you wear one in public, it can be a misdemeanor, with just a few exceptions. Lawmakers say they want to prevent people from hiding their identities in public and linked it to crimes committed while masked. There's another late development. Indiana's vocational college Ivy Tech announced it will close its DEI office next month. This follows proposed legislation restricting funds for diversity, equity, and inclusion programming. IU has not announced any such action as of now. Now, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Olivia. After years of legal battles regarding abortion records, Indiana Governor Mike Braun signed an executive order on the issue. Executive Order 2520 requires the Indiana Department of Health to release terminated pregnancy reports on a quarterly basis. Some of these terminations, including miscarriages, happen at Indiana hospitals under stringent Indiana law requirements, and patient names are protected under patient privacy laws. The termination forms will now be accessible to the public upon lawful request and will no longer be marked as confidential. TPRs require 30 to 40 pieces of information about the termination, but they do not require the name of the patient involved.
Indiana lawmakers have also taken the first step towards legalizing interactive online gambling that would allow for poker and other casino games right on your phone. IU NewsNet's Nick Abel looks at the new bill and how student gamblers are reacting to it.
The Indiana House Public Policy Committee approved House Bill 1432, legalizing online casino games like poker and blackjack. The bill also allows the Hoosier Lottery to sell tickets online. IU students think the bill will increase gambling around the school.
I think it would be a big option for a lot of people, especially on college campuses. But in all honesty, I don't see myself using it as frequently as I would expect others to.
I'm here where IU sports programs play their most profitable games. Since sports gambling became legal for Hoosiers in 2019, it has become increasingly popular among college students. According to the Indiana Problem Gambling Awareness Program, 52% of male students and 32% of female students reported placing a bet in 2023. It's all made easier with the use of mobile apps. And with this new bill, mobile apps will include casino games. But all this gambling can come at a cost.
I've definitely seen people addicted to gambling, yeah, and it has had a negative influence. Obviously, you never win in the end, so I've seen people lose a lot of money, yeah.
You talk to people around campus, and they'll talk about a crazy loss that they've had where they've lost an insane amount of money that I can't even fathom, but they clearly do have some pattern of addiction, and it shows in the way they talk about their gambling experiences.
An entertaining pastime for some, a terrible addiction for others, gambling isn't going away anytime soon and will now be more accessible in Indiana. For IU NewsNet, I'm Nick Abel.
Last Friday, a tense situation unfolded for hours at Homewood Suites on South Liberty Drive. A hostage situation that summoned the SWAT team and forced hotel guests to evacuate. Police say Samuel Bumgardner Jr. was armed inside his hotel room with his mother and her dog in a standoff that lasted nearly 8 hours. This all transpired after Monroe County Sheriff deputies attempted to serve felony warrants on Bumgardner for not registering as a sex offender. But police say Bumgardner barricaded himself inside his hotel room. It wasn't until 8:30 at night that Bumgardner was taken into custody, and his mother and dog were safely released. Police did recover a rifle and ammunition from his room.
Court records indicate a Bluebird employee burned a fellow employee with a can of nitrous oxide, a gas often used to get high. 22-year-old Pandora Langley is charged with 1 count of battery, a level 6 felony. Police say it happened at an employee party and that Langley followed another employee into the bathroom and sprayed nitrous oxide on her leg, resulting in a second-degree burn that required medical treatment. Langley was in court last week where she pled not guilty. The pretrial conference is scheduled for March 25th.
A Bloomington middle school aide is accused of abusing a special needs student and now faces a felony charge. 33-year-old Darren Eads, a former employee at Jackson Creek Middle School, was arrested last week where he was charged with battery against a mentally or physically disabled person. Court documents show Eads was caught on security video trying to trip a 14-year-old student who relies on a walker, and he then twisted his finger, making him cry. The incident was reported to school officials on January 30th, leading to Eads' immediate termination.
When we come back, it took a full semester to make repairs to Dunn Meadow, but the final bill is in, and the total might surprise you. That story ahead.
Plus, Highland cows, cattle that are native to Scotland. But what are they doing in Indiana? We'll take you to the Air BnB where they live only 20 miles up the road. Stay with us.
Remember Econ 101, supply and demand? Well, that's what's happening to the price of your eggs.
That's right, Emma. Inflation is driving up prices nationwide, and the bird flu outbreak is making it even worse. I hit the streets of Bloomington to see how local businesses in Monroe County are feeling the impact. Here's what I found and what you can do to shop smarter. Yes, your stroll down the grocery aisle is definitely getting steeper. I spoke with Denise Spears, Public Information Director for the Indiana State Board of Animal Health, who says that rising food costs are directly linked to the ongoing bird flu outbreak.
Public perception is nobody wants to eat diseased eggs or diseased meat. And so it's more of a response of why that protein would be lost and why it needs to be disposed of, because no one wants to take that risk.
Across the state, millions of birds have been euthanized to help control the spread of the virus. But that loss now translating to higher prices, even right here in Bloomington.
I mean, customers come in here, I believe the first thing they think about is getting eggs. That's what it looks like and feels like.
With egg prices skyrocketing nationwide, staff at Blooming Foods say they found a way to counteract the increase by stocking only local inventory, which helps keep the cost down.
We believe in supporting our local farmers, and we haven't really seen any price increases with our eggs, but we have seen the demand go up.
Eggflation certainly in full force at Bloomington's Brightside Cafe. But unlike Blooming Foods, prices here have gone up, with staff saying they've had no choice but to raise prices to cover their own rising costs.
The prices for us for eggs have almost doubled. So that's definitely been an adjustment we've kind of had to make and weren't exactly ready for.
Owner Abe Carney says he understands customers' frustrations, but higher costs are necessary to keep his local business running and his staff employed during these challenging times.
We don't want to overcharge people for something that they can't find anywhere else. To be honest, those are just, in our mind, they're more or less challenges. You know, we'll be here no matter what, you know, trying to get people something to eat.
Thanks for that, Jack. After being closed for repairs all of last semester, Dunn Meadow is finally open again. But an IDS investigation reveals restoration costs nearly doubled IU's original estimate. IU spent over $265,000 to repair Dunn Meadow following pro-Palestinian protests. That's $165,000 more than the initial estimate. A breakdown of the costs includes $4,000 for tent cleanup, $5,500 for graffiti removal, $18,000 for surveillance cameras mounted on lampposts, and the largest expense, nearly $100,000 for sod repairs. IU removed the encampment in August after the Board of Trustees passed its expressive activity policy. Police arrested over 50 people during the protests.
The Rialto Apartments owe the city of Bloomington over $1 million, and the city council is making developers pay up. Under a development agreement with the city, Rialto's developer promised 15% of their units to workforce housing, but the city council says Rialto failed to make good. Workforce housing is earmarked for households that are considered part of the Bloomington workforce.
Switching gears now, if you've ever wanted to get away to Scotland, we may have found the next best thing in Indiana.
A historic Air BnB in Gosport, Indiana is giving guests a chance to move away from the city and experience and enjoy the country life. IU NewsNet's Razan Omer is in studio with the story. Razan?
That's right. Stark Manor Airbnb, located just 20 minutes outside Bloomington, offers a getaway like no other, unless you want to go all the way to Scotland. This historic farmhouse, built in 1835 by Scottish immigrants, is home to Scottish Highland cattle in the adjacent field. And one in particular steals the show.
He is the biggest, the hairiest, and just has such a big personality to go with it.
A personality that just loves attention and making a mess. Meet Jackson, the big white bull.
You can love on him, pet on him, and he tears up everything I put out there for him.
Petting these cows is a calm and gentle experience.
I would say approach it as the same method as a dog.
Just a little friendly approach and a handout to get to know them.
She has come a long way since we've got her.
Yeah, it's okay. Scottish Highland cattle, they have kind of taken off as a trend in the United States, and it just fits with the culture here.
So far, everyone that has visited, they just can't stop talking about the cows.
In some places, Highland cattle cows are bred for meat, but here they're just part of the scenery. Guests can relax in the clawfoot tubs, enjoy the sunsets, and watch the cows from one or two of the bedrooms.
We've tried to keep it as authentic as possible to the history of the house.
A house that Shirley Blankenship drove past and admired as a child now belongs to her family, enchanting visitors who get a taste of Scotland nearly 4,000 miles away, here in Owen County, Indiana. To stay at Stark Manor, guests must rent the entire house and be at least 25 years old per Airbnb policy. Prices vary based on local demand, typically around $249 per night, but currently at $299. Guests can interact with the cattle during their stay, and occasional events allow public visits. Emma and Jack, now back to you.
Thanks, Razan. With baseball season starting, we go in depth with Tyler Cerny, one of the key players on the roster.
Plus, IU announces Mike Woodson's time at Indiana is coming to an end, even as the team managed an unlikely win this week. We'll have the latest on a retirement Woodson has yet to publicly address. IU NewsNet Sports is next. Stay with us. Welcome back. IU basketball fans may soon get their wish of drastic change to the program, starting right at the top.
And IU NewsNet's Matt Vogel joins us this week with sports. Matt, the team beat Michigan State this week, but Woodson is out at the end of the season. Is that right?
That's right. Indiana men's basketball will need to find a new head coach. Last Friday, IU athletic director Scott Dolson announced that Mike Woodson will step down at the end of the season. He is expected to finish out the year, but his head coaching career will come to a close after 4 seasons. This news emerges as a roster that Woodson described before the season as the most talented of his tenure has decidedly failed to meet expectations. Indiana was picked by many to win the Big Ten and has been stuck in the middle of the conference standings after numerous blowout losses and blown leads. The tide may be shifting down the stretch as the Hoosiers knocked off number 11 Michigan State in East Lansing on Tuesday night. One of the blue bloods of college hoops, the Indiana head coaching job will be one of the most sought after on the coaching carousel heading into fall 2025. One of the biggest names among potential Woodson replacements is current Michigan head coach Dusty May. An Indiana native and IU graduate, May was a student manager under Bob Knight and served as an assistant under Mike Davis after graduating. May was hired by Michigan after 6 seasons without a losing record at Florida Atlantic, taking the Owls to the first ever Final Four in 2023. In his first season at Michigan, he has led the Wolverines to an 18-6 record, including a win at Assembly Hall in early February. After the game, May was asked about his interest in becoming the head coach at his alma mater. He did not turn it down.
That stuff's crazy. I mean, I love being at Michigan. I love our team. We're fighting like crazy. That's it. I mean, this place is my foundation, but I'm very, very happy at the University of Michigan.
It is common for coaches to speak this way. They can use the interest of other schools in contract negotiations. May's current contract runs through April 2029 and reportedly has a $5 million buyout if he leaves Michigan before the contract is up. Michigan is reportedly looking to restructure May's deal. Notably, May signed a 10-year extension with Florida Atlantic after their Final Four appearance in 2023. Even still, Michigan lured him away. Now to IU women's basketball. The Hoosiers will take on the Purdue Boilermakers at home at Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall this Saturday at 12 noon. The Hoosiers will continue their fight for a spot in the postseason with their next 2 games against number 9 Ohio State on February 20th and number 22 Michigan State on February 28th. Their current record stands at 15-8, making them number 8 in the Big Ten. The Hoosiers are projected to be the number 10 seed for the NCAA tournament. February means college baseball is back. IU NewsNet's Nick Rodecat brings us the story of an Indiana baseball player who fought a unique battle on his way to Bloomington. Nick?
Thanks, Matt. Fresh off back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances, Indiana baseball begins its season on Friday night in Surprise, Arizona. They're led by a maturing core of veterans, one of whom is Greenwood native Tyler Cerny. He and his teammates make up an elite group of athletes who have made it to the top level of college baseball. No easy feat. Back in the fall, I caught up with Cerny, and he told me about an undiagnosed illness that threatened his diamond dreams back in high school. Now entering his third season in Indiana, Tyler Cerny committed to the Hoosiers as a freshman at Center Grove High School. His road to Bloomington was bumpy. High school players develop the most between their sophomore and junior seasons. Cerny lost his sophomore year due to COVID. A year later, an odd illness forced him off the diamond.
My body was still sore. I was like taking ibuprofen, and it was, helping me get through the games. But I was not normal for sure. Like there was something definitely wrong.
Doctors ran hundreds of blood tests and even used a bone marrow biopsy to rule out cancer. Cerny's immune system kicked into high gear and didn't return to normal for months.
Hearing that, no one knows really what's wrong with you is not like the greatest thing to hear. So it was tough hearing that. Like, what are you going to do about it? You just gotta, persevere through it, work through it, and do whatever you can to control what you can't control, and do your best to get back out there.
He lost nearly 20 pounds, but Cerny fought back and was playing again by the summer. A strong senior season with the Trojans led him to Bloomington. He earned a starting spot as a true freshman.
I remember calling his dad and calling his family and saying, hey, just don't worry about Indiana. Don't worry about what we're going to be here for you. We're going to be supportive. Just get healthy. He is so focused on succeeding. He refuses to be denied. And so he attacked his illness that way, and he got back. And he wasn't quite the same guy initially, but he just fought and fought and fought.
That same mental toughness is what's allowed Cerny to make plays like this look easy. Now, as he shifts towards his junior season of college ball and eventually the MLB draft, he does it with a unique perspective.
I understand that anything at any moment could get taken away from you at any time. I mean, you just got to live in the moment and be where your feet are at. Just enjoy it.
Shortstop number 8, Tyler Cerny.
And Cerny will be Indiana's starting shortstop for the second season running. You'll have 23 chances, weather permitting, to watch the Hoosiers at Bart Kaufman Field here in Bloomington. The Hoosiers play 56 regular season games in total. Their home opener is next Wednesday, February 19th, and they'll host Ohio State in their first Big Ten series beginning Friday, March 14th. Matt?
Next Tuesday night at 6, make way for the man responsible for making IU football history. The IU Union Board is presenting an exclusive student-only talk in the IU auditorium led by Coach Kurt Signetti. Coach Signetti will discuss IU football's first ever 11-2 record and NCAA playoff appearance that led him to win multiple awards, including both Big Ten and AP Coach of the Year. The Michigan men's basketball team was in town last week, and so is the CBS Sports production crew. CBS Sports-led director Mark Grant visited Franklin Hall to speak with students on Friday. He shared advice and experiences from his 44-year career covering college sports and local news, including being in the middle of a bidding battle between CBS and ESPN. That'll do it for sports this week, and March Madness, a sure sign of spring, is just a little more than a month away. Now back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Matt. And one more thing before we go. If you are an animal lover, this Valentine's story is right up your alley.
Bloomington Animal Care and Control has the perfect gift to help you find your perfect match. IU NewsNet's Kelsey Peace tells us what that gift is and how it's impacting the community.
During BACC's Shelter Sweetheart Special, you can adopt a furry friend for just $14. Adoption fees are just one obstacle for shelter animals who can be waiting weeks to months to up to a year before they're chosen.
We see their, great qualities and know that they deserve such a loving, wonderful home too. And a lot of the times it's no fault of their own. So it is hard to see the same animals over and over again.
While no fault of their own, sometimes those interested in adopting need a little extra push. Reduced adoption fees lower barriers for both the animals and the adopters. IU sophomore Elena Franz said the Shelter Sweetheart Special inspired her to continue searching for a feline friend.
I knew about the $14 adoption deal, which was a little bit convincing. I think I was on the fence about it, and that just I was like, oh, I should go.
As if it was Kitten in the Stars, Franz found her forever Valentine, Kit Kat Magoo.
Oh, she is just so sweet.
Adopting an animal is a huge responsibility for those who aren't ready yet, already have enough animals, or who simply aren't interested, can still participate in this event by sponsoring the adoption fee of an animal here at the shelter.
I mean, it'll change your life. Even if you don't get to adopt but still get to sponsor an animal, that is a very generous step into helping an animal have the best life they can.
Valentine's Day is just hours away, but the last day for the Shelter Sweetheart Special isn't until February 16th. For IU NewsNet, I'm Kelsey Peace.
That's it for IU NewsNet for now. We have a behind-the-scenes student production team in the control room and working in the studio for this broadcast. We thank them and we thank you for watching. I'm Emma Herwehe.
And I'm Jack Bassett. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at IU NewsNet and on the IU Media School YouTube channel. Take care, and we'll see you next week.